So this is the video I wanted to make earlier today. I made the 3 videos, but I was running short on time after my run. I only had like an hour and a half left before I had to leave to work, and I knew that with the 3 videos I'd already made and the upload time, I wasn't going to be able to finish it all. So I figured I would do it later. So later has come, and I wanted to talk real quick about VTech killer versus head swap for K20A3 or the K24A4. Should you just buy a K20 Type S head and put it on these blocks? Is it better than going VTech killer? It is, but it is barely better. So it's one of those things where I talked about a long time ago in the K series playlist. You'll find it. The TSX head swap. Should you head swap your K24 to a Type S head? And I think no. Thankfully, that people do this because regurgitated information. Everybody thinks that you have to do this, even though you don't know the reason why. Oh, it makes more power. Does it make more power? Sure, it does. But what you gain in power, you lose in torque. And it's only good for about 10 or 15 horsepower, right? So now, of course, I guess the argument could be made like somewhere in the power band, and that's something that I haven't paid too much detail to. But at the end of the day, most people don't care about that. Most people care about peak horsepower numbers, and peak horsepower numbers is like 10 to 15 horsepower difference if you just kept your TSX head. And what you gain in horsepower, you lose in torque, all right? So there's that to think of. Now, considering the VTech killer head swap versus VTech killer, right? Now there is a more practical reason for the VTech killer for drivability, but not so much when it comes to power. If you look across the numbers for VTech killer for the cam swap, you're looking at around 200 horsepower no matter if you go for the K20A3 or the K24A4. The K24A4 consistently makes around 210 horsepower with bolt-ons in the VTech killer setup, with just VTech cams, and we're seeing 200 horsepower out of K20A3s with just VTech killer cams. And again, we're not talking about the engine being opened up or anything. We're talking about engine as is with just VTech cams in them. Now, the one thing I would say, like if you want to go with a head swap because you want to have a VTEC crossover, you want better fuel economy or whatnot, then that's fine. But there's a video I made not too long ago. If you look in the K series playlist, it's a K20A3 VTEC killer that a guy has. They tuned. This was out in England. I think I got it right this time. And he made 201 horsepower. And he has full exhaust on the car, and he drives it around. So if you want to get an idea of what VTEC killer sounds like or what it drives like, you can see it in there, and it's pretty fucking normal. Guys, when you're hearing like the crazy VTEC killer sounds on these videos, it's mainly because people got open headers, open downpipe, and it just sounds crazy. But if you got full exhaust on your car with a VTEC killer and you're tuned well, it doesn't really sound crazy at all. The only thing you're just going to really lack is the crossover. So you're not going to have the fun from a VTEC crossover. All right. And will you burn more fuel? Yeah, inevitably you're going to burn more fuel because the whole reason for VTEC is to have economy on the downside and have performance on the upside. So when you really get into it and you're racing up top, when you're living in high RPMs, of course you're going to have more air flowing. You're going to be burning more fuel. So you're going to have more fuel consumption. But that's just a trade-off. If you want a little bit of a faster car, you're going to trade fuel. My SI used to get like 300 miles to a full tank of gas, and that'd be awesome, even with me beating on it. And the Type R barely gets over 200 miles. That's a trade. You want more power, you're going to burn more fuel. All right, guys, so this is something that somebody asked me earlier, and so I rechecked some old stuff, and looking at some head swap K20A3s, and I'm seeing like 206 horsepower versus the VTEC killer, which is making like 201 horsepower. So really, do you want to spend the money for 5 horsepower that you're not going to notice in your drive in your butt dyno? That's the thing. You need to be making like an extra 30 or 40 horsepower to really feel the difference. And if you're only going to be making 5 or 6, it's non-existent. You're not going to feel that at all. So yeah, and I have another video I have been planning for the last couple weeks, picking a VTEC killer head, like which head for what. And it seems like at the end of the day, and I was going to talk about it more in this, but I'll throw it in here at the end of this real quick because it's a short video anyway, is that from what I can see from a lot of dyno stuff, most of the K-series heads are going to get the same results. And it's also something I talked about, like with, these guys, piston companies marketing different compression for different setups. And I talked to people at 4-piston, and they said that you can just disregard that. You're going to base compression off dome height of the piston in general, because the chambers on the inside, except for the K20A3, are generally the same. And your compression rating is off of your the compression based off inside the chamber, not the dynamic compression inside your head, but the compression you're making inside the cylinders. So if all of the fucking K heads are right around the same chamber volume, you're gonna have the same compression across the board. So when you're seeing one that has higher compression than the other, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. And again, this is something I talked to the guys at 4Piston because I was confused and wanted to figure it out. And that's the way they told me that they don't just disregard that. You gotta just base off calculations off of the chamber volume or whatnot. That's another video that I talked about anyway. So I think if you really want to know the importance of the differences between these heads and which one's gonna make more power and what, I think what it really comes down to isn't so much the head and as it comes in OEM form, it's how much you can port off of the heads. Because I know that for a fact that the TSX head has like a shallower floor or whatnot, so you can't port it as much as you would a K20 head because there just isn't enough material. If you port it the same, or if you try to port as extreme as you would a K20 head, you will breach it. You will break through. So I think at the end of the day, when you're talking about these head swaps, I don't really think that the internal flow is that much different to make big jumps of difference in power. I think that it's they're all relatively close. And again, 10, 15 horsepower, yes, it's different, but that's still relatively close. If you had to pay $600 for a mod that was going to cost you, that was only going to gain you 10 horsepower, would you do it? Because that's essentially what you're doing if you're head swapping a K24 or whatnot. That's why I like to go with the K24 RBB heads, because people throw them away. They give them away for like $300, $250. I literally bought a K24 head for $30 one time. A legit RBB head that was healthy. So just some food for thought. I will try to do this weekend selecting a Vtec killer head or whatnot, and giving you what I look at as a reason or for picking one over the other. All right, guys, so that's it. Thanks for watching, and social media links in the description down below. Guys, if you want to check out what I have for sale, vhpengines.com. It's not everything I have, but it's just a good idea of what I regularly deal with. It also gives you a good idea on prices. Please hit me up directly before trying to buy anything. If you have any engine parts that you want to buy, let me know. I'm a dealer, so you can get parts through me. If you want to support the channel, but you don't want to buy a $1,000 engine or whatnot, or $1,500 engine block, then let me know. I can get you pistons, rods, bearings, all that shit, gaskets, all that good stuff. All right, guys, so thanks for watching, and peace.